GM, everyone, and welcome to another episode of FOMO Hour. Today is Wednesday, August 13th, 2025, and oh, baby, another big day in the crypto markets. We've got Bitcoin running to 122K, ETH ripping to 4,700 overnight. The all-time high waiting rooms are open, and our question this morning, do we get there today? We're going to break it all down on this morning's show. No Farouk. Mando's going to join us here in a minute. We got Logan on with us. Logan, GN, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Tyler. Doing pretty well. This is a great day to wake up. A lot of green. Like I was just refreshing the CoinGecko board. Pretty good start.
A whole lot of green. I find myself waking up earlier, more naturally on these bull market days. Like I'm chomping at the bit to get out of bed and start checking prices and writing about this industry I love so much, and I love it so much more on these green days. A little more pep in the step. Folks, what are we talking about today? We're going to start with a market report. We've got Scott Bessent. He wants 50 bips cut. And now we're starting to get some creeping odds on that actually happening. ETH popping to all-time high. Doesn't look like it's going to stop. Sol, actually one of the top movers on the day. OKX and their OKB token jumping 140% on a surprise announcement. We got this Coinbase stablecoin liquidity fund in the mix. REKT is busy. They're teasing a base collab. Azuki just landed a huge investment from GameSquare. We've got more Solana meme runners on the board. Punk's hitting 250K. And it looks like there's a new NFT mint tomorrow. Folks, NFT mints have been hot lately. So I think we need to dig into this one and prepare for what might be a nice mint tomorrow. So a lot to get into on today's show. Before we do that, shout out to our partners, Wallet Connect. Wallet Connect is the connectivity network shaping the future of on-chain UX. If you've connected to a Web3 app, you've seen Wallet Connect. That blue logo, it's everywhere. An icon of trust in crypto, as recognizable as Visa at the checkout. If you want to learn more, follow at Wallet Connect on X and Telegram to stay ahead of what's next. And I think shout out to Wallet Connect. I think their WCT token just got the Coinbase roadmap. So they are going to be going live on Coinbase here soon. And shout out to our other partner, Kraken Pro. Kraken Pro gives active traders exactly what they need: deep liquidity, full customization, and 350 plus trading pairs. Build your own layout with drag and drop modules and trade seamlessly across desktop or mobile. Go to pro.kraken.com and trade without trade-offs. All right. Well, no Mando. I will do my best Mando impression for our market report. Sims, do we have the lead-in music?
For daily NFT and crypto analysis. Tyler D on FOMO Hour calls the kid can't miss.
Ready to bash some bears. All right. The lead-in just goes so much better with the intro music. So thank you for that, Sims. All right, let's take a look at things. Bitcoin up 2%, really just popping here in the last 30 minutes, right at the 122K level. Some of the quants are saying this 122.3 level are the levels to get past for us to get to the next tier here on Bitcoin, but it's looking good. But pales in comparison to the other major movers here. ETH up 6%, 46.85. I think it was 47.40 30 minutes ago. So moving up very, very well. And then Solana. So this caught me by surprise. I was just checking prices yesterday afternoon and noticed that Solana was actually the top major mover on the day, up 14%. Now back over $200. All the attention's been on ETH, but Sol now coming to play here as well, which has been interesting because it's been largely ignored, at least in discourse on CT over the last month or so. Taking a look at the biggest movers in the top 100, OKB, and we'll get to the news here in a bit, up 130%. I mean, you don't see charts like this too often. This thing went to a smashing all-time high. Like it is never basically 2x above its all-time high ever. Hell, I'll just get into the news now. Basically, they came out and announced an upgrade, several new changes to their economic model, and the big one was a new buyback. They're doing a burn and then a buyback of their token. And man, the market responded quite strongly to that. So shout out to anyone holding that OKB token. Fartcoin, a lovable name here on the top of the list, up 28%, back from the dead. Radium up 18%, Arrow up 16% as well. So some of your DEX plays, buyback plays, perhaps with Radium there, say Arbitrum Sol rounding this out. So some big green on the board. Stocks, I think stocks are up green again today. So we're just printing all-time highs after all-time highs for the S&P and the NASDAQ. I think arguably the biggest macro story of the day was out of Scott Bessent, who's come out now and putting pressure on Jerome Powell, saying he thinks we should do a 50 bips cut. And we're starting to see some odds of that creep up. So taking a look at the CME board, one cut is now a 99.9% favorite. This is the highest it's been. At least
can't go any higher
for the last few months. What was surprising to me is that they didn't have odds on two cuts. And now they finally do on CME, which is at 0.1%, which is kind of feels a little silly. But Polymarket has different odds. Polymarket's got a 50 bips cut at 7%, which feels a little bit more directionally right to me. I mean, at 0.01% doesn't really feel right. It feels like the odds are above zero for this. Shout out to my quant Jeeps, who got into the 50 bips bet at 4.5% yesterday or the day before. So he got a nice entry on this. I'll be honest, I kind of like it at 7% still. So you get 14-1 on your money on a 50 bips cut. It's a long shot. I mean, rightfully so, but you're getting odds on a long shot. It would be a little bit of Powell kind of admitting the mistake to a degree, right? So I think that would be the thought on one cut. What are your thoughts here, Logan?
Yeah, I think after so much hesitance, right, Mr. Too Late, or whatever the hell Trump calls him, after so much hesitance for some time just to introduce one 25 bip cut, I think it would be a lot, right, to double that. And then this feels like you introduce the 25, you see what happens, right, and then you hopefully react from there in the right direction. I would have felt better, of course, at 4.5%. It's easy to say that now at 7%, but yeah, man, if you're looking for long shots, you could do worse probably, especially when you got somebody like Bessent, loudly asking for it as well.
Yeah, I think that's part of the driver also for what we're seeing in the market. Mando's in the studio with us. GM, how you doing?
GM, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, just fine.
Yeah, perfect. Sorry, I'm on the move again. Good. Yeah, market seems even better than it was yesterday again. My rotation into Bitcoin is I think I'm going to time this one well.
When you're hot, folks. Well, you haven't missed much. I just started giving my own version of the market report. Didn't get very far. Kind of just went through the major movers and then talked about what I thought was the big headline from the day, which is Bessent calling for 50 bips cut in September. It was kind of a more quiet day on the macro side. I'm not sure if anything jumped out to you from a macro perspective.
I think this lawsuit potentially against Powell that could unsettle someone like that. I think if people aren't aware, it's kind of a frivolous lawsuit, but the Fed, the actual building of the Fed, is being renovated, and Trump is considering, and it's been a massive overspend, and Trump is considering allowing a lawsuit against Powell for allowing that overspend to happen. It is costing billions of dollars, but it's a pretty political move, I would say, to kind of come after a Fed chairman for not managing building works correctly at the building. That's not normally what a Fed chair would be judged on, but this is seemingly what is happening. That may, if Powell decides, I'm done, but because of that, maybe I don't think the market would react so well.
Mm-hmm.
So that continues to be, like, I wouldn't say the black swan, but the chances of that happening seem to be increasing at the moment, just with the pressure being put on. And yeah, I think that's about it. It's a quiet period. Like, Trump's obviously going to meet Putin on Friday. It's been kind of downplayed by the US, but who knows when those two kind of get together. And CPI yesterday, I think, was mixed, but the market went higher. But it's at the moment, the rally in crypto doesn't feel like a macro one. It feels like a crypto specific. They're going to buy 5% or 6% of the total ETH value. And yeah, I think that's the main thing driving it.
I'm with you. It's somewhat notable here. The top two stories on CNBC's sidebar ticker here this morning, folks. Ether nears 2021 record high as money pours into ETFs. And Tom Lee says Ethereum will keep charging ahead. Two ETH stories. Top links. You love to see that. And I think it's just the headlines are just too strong to ignore. I had to write my feature this morning about Tom Lee again. Yesterday it was him acquiring 1.2 million, and then today it was the $20 billion raise. And I hate to repeat myself, but it's just such a big story that it's just too big to ignore. And D Johnson was talking about this yesterday. I'll try to find the tweet, but the stocks are doing so much volume now that they're going to continue selling ATM. So it's just this flywheel where I think they raised somewhere likely above $500 million yesterday in ATM shares, just based on speculation. We don't have the exact totals because they're not published, to buy more ETH. And you just think that they're going to basically keep doing this every day. Tom Lee's bit mine up another 5% here today. What's it up? 57% on the week. So it's doing very, very well. The ETFs aren't slowing down either. So yesterday or 2 days ago, we had the 1.02 billion new record. Yesterday was a 524 million net inflow into the ETH ETFs, which is the fifth biggest day on record. So we've got 3 of the 5 biggest days of all time, I think, have happened in the past 3 days, the past 3 sessions, which is just insane to see. And again, too big to ignore. Logan, I see you nodding your head. Any thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I was just going to add, speaking of 3, do you know the ETH ETF inflows? Only 3 outflow days since July began.
Wow.
There's one tiny one on like July 2nd, 2 last week during the minor drawdown. And I think that's it. It's just been astounding, unprecedented, of course, as it goes for ETH ETFs.
It's one of those things where, like, on paper, it was easy to think that we would face more sell pressure above 4K, near all-time highs. And this headline from Tom Lee just feels like it's totally flipped the script. It's just like, how do you sell a huge position with this amount of buy pressure incoming? And I think that's giving some folks some pause.
Yeah. It gets harder to sell too when you get like Standard Chartered. You saw the new price targets this morning, like 25,000 or something in 2030. Yeah, pretty wild.
I think you have to, and I'm not getting bearish on ETH in any way, but I think you have to appreciate that a lot of this will have been front run, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the story that you heard yesterday is a story that is probably responsible for the rally in ETH from like 4,000 to 4,600, 700. Like that story was already known by people who are front running that story. There's no doubt in my mind. So be a little bit wary of like buying into the previous pump essentially there.
I think it's a great point. I think it's also very interesting to be monitoring this 20 billion in potential buy pressure. So at what point do people start front running to sell that? Because I think it's pretty logical to think whenever that 20 billion runs out, we're probably going to pull back, because who's the next buyer after Tom? So then you start to think, okay, well, are people going to front run it to once he's 50% through? Like, where does the sell pressure start? So like it's going to be a game like that. But a part of me also just wants to sit back and respect the pump right now, because the pump is quite strong. I mean, look at this. It's really there really haven't been any drawdown substantially since 3,400 on August 2nd. So we're basically 11 days of effective up only. For ETH, I do also want to be wary. Like funding rates are getting pretty high. Jeeps was pointing this out this morning as well. Bitcoin is decently high. ETH is very high. Farcoin had a pretty high one. It actually looks like it's been reset a little bit.
I think there was something like Solana added nearly 2 billion of open interest in 24 hours. So everyone was like, right, we've got to move to Solana straight away. And just be, yeah, I would be cognizant of that. Like I remember this when Bitcoin started moving towards all-time high. Like it gets very volatile, even if it's been very, very strong. It'll probably hit all-time high or very close to it and then go back. Hit all-time high, and then go back. Like that's just the way it works. So, and I think, you know, when every single person saying, "Hey, I've got a 10x short and 10x long and hyperliquid for ETH to hit all-time high," like ETH to hit all-time high is like what, 4%?
Yeah.
5%. Well, one stage this morning. Just know the trade that you're in for. Like, switch to Bitcoin like me. For money.
Well, so let's talk about that a little bit. So Bitcoin had been in this 117 to 120 range for a decent stretch. 3 weeks, fell out of it, got right back in. I think it was a question of, are we just going to be back in the range or are we going to blow through it? Do you have a read on the near term? It's at 122.2 now.
I actually, you know, the reason why I've moved back into Bitcoin is because the volatility has been very, very low recently. And I think you could have one of those like nuke style, everything gets smashed moves, but Bitcoin wouldn't really be affected in it. And Bitcoin dominance, which just dipped below 60%, I can imagine going back up. Yeah. So I think I'm really in Bitcoin because it's been ranging for a while, but also I know that in any sort of dip, I think it would really outperform. So, and then in that dip, I'd probably look for like the trade again, you know, what's the trade? So,
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
We're seeing it like Bitcoin Dom is up 0.5% here today, though it is in a downtrend from the local high at 66 in late June. That positioning makes sense to me. It's also, I think the thing about Bitcoin is that I feel like no one held ETH for sure, but it also still feels like not that many people are in Bitcoin as well. And even some of the folks who perhaps casually were now are also moving downstream. There's a lot of calls for alt season, a broader alt season. So folks will want those bigger returns.
Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind that at one stage in the next 2 weeks, you will wish you own Bitcoin. And Bitcoin dominance will go back up. And even if it's on a downward trend, like there'll just be a moment. As we approach all-time high and altcoins are breaking out to new highs on Google search trends, there's going to be a day when that happens. You're going to want to own stables, but I'm guessing it's going to be more Bitcoin. I don't want to scare you, but you have to appreciate the volatility of assets as they approach all-time high. It's the same with every single asset out there. You don't ETH just doesn't go to all-time high and then just keep on going. Like nothing ever does that. So yeah.
Sage advice. Looks like we lost. He gave us he dropped the bomb and then logged straight off. But
you know what's interesting to me about that up only stuff, which ETH has been, as you noted, for the last 11 days or whatever. Take a look at that fear and greed number you've got listed. It doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't feel that greedy. I actually was thinking about this yesterday and hadn't looked at the number until you just showed it there. I don't know. It's clearly not as bad as it had been. Well, I mean, the last time ETH was near all-time high or whatever, this had to have been extreme greed for sure. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other one is at 73, so a touch higher. But I mean, this is in line, and still, again, every single pullback we've had in the past, what feels like quarter, there's loud cohorts are calling top. Like it happened again last week in that Bitcoin pullback. Like I remember, I need to start bookmarking all the tweets, but
Yeah.
it continues to happen. And I think while some things like late longs piling into ETH does feel a little frothy, right? And it's like it's literally going up every day right now for the past week or whatever, 10 days feels frothy. But the rest of the market isn't really necessarily all that frothy. Like we're starting to see some meme action, some alt action. It's definitely not universal. Didn't know if you had any additional thoughts there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't. I think you're right. I don't think it feels universal. One of the things I'm thinking about though more is as you have this institutional bid that is perhaps the strongest catalyst, likely the strongest catalyst for price up right now. Like, do we need to see alt season? Do we need to see on chain stuff go up? For it to be a signal that we're approaching top or something like that. I hate to be the guy who says it's different this time. It is likely going to be a little bit different in some way, shape, or form. Like the top signs may not be as obvious as they would have been previously because the participants are way different. The funds, the demographics are way different. So I don't know, just something I'm thinking about. But at the same time, yesterday I said to myself, I need to get some more funds on chain to potentially be ready for something that comes. And then I don't know, playing both sides in my head, I guess, preparing for if and when nothing happens there.
Well, I think we've experienced these meme cycles since December 2023. And it feels like they come when majors are hot or right after majors pump. So like you want to be ready for that. And it's a little bit of the muscle memory right now. We're seeing some signs of it. So like I'll pull up the Solana meme board here briefly. I mean, it feels like spotty. So like this new orange coin came out. It hit like 15 million in the first few hours. So a $10 million runner, but it's already back down to 8. I mean, the coins that had been running, I think we're seeing more tokens get to like that $40-50 million range than perhaps we were a month or so ago. But this board also doesn't stream like, wow, everyone's getting rich and you're not. Like that's not what the Solana meme action is indicating.
There's no clear meta here, is there? Like no, I don't see any obvious parallels between any of these tokens aside from the vast majority of them being pump tokens, right? Or I guess a lot of these are just duplicates in different pools.
I think that the one meta that you can maybe point to is the Launchpad wars, and the Launchpad teams or cabals kind of getting behind 1 or 2 tokens per week and trying to run those up. And I think we've seen some instances of that, but also like I think Sheep with Hat, Swift was kind of in that for the bags. I think that was a bags token, if I'm not mistaken. And then you saw what happened yesterday. This thing's totally rugged down at 80%. So it's there's some mines out there in the meme minefield right now. So I don't know. I'm still not like itching to really get back in. Like just jumping in 2 feet. Like I'm playing a little bit. I'm watching. We've been playing, or like at least monitoring that Jugs token from the Moonit team. It looks like something is happening there. So it came out. Moonit had a very big first day, kind of made a splash, and then it got pretty quiet objectively after that. And I haven't seen a whole lot of chatter about new Moonit tokens, but this was the first one they had that ran up. It got past 10 million the first day. It's up 30% now, back at 5 or 6. Some folks think they might be rallying behind this one. So some signs of life in the Launchpad wars, but not universal by any means.
Have you been watching any base stuff, Tyler? I saw some tweets about Banker again this morning. I can't remember from who.
I'm definitely watching some of like the base AI tokens.
Okay. Yeah. Amid the Zora stuff, I've just been refreshing them a little bit more. Of course, we talked to Eli yesterday about Abstract too. Some more of these Ethereum adjacent things. But yeah, I think Mendo said yesterday, like what Pepe hasn't even moved. Like if you were talking or feeling like you should be participating with ETH betas in some way, or that there's some ETH on-chain season coming, like you would expect it to maybe start there. But yeah, I guess
we got some green the past 24 hours. So Doge actually had a really nice move, which I think is a sign you want to see if you're betting on memes grinding up, and then the rest of the board followed a bit with it. And we've kind of buried the lead Farcoin, 25%. We said it in the intro. It went all the way down to like 80 in that one bad wick. Now back to $1.08, $1.10. So we've got folks like Blunts running his TA. He was calling for 130% move on Farcoin. So let's hope he's right. That would be very welcome.
I didn't get the Farcoin bottom, but I got close to it.
Yeah, your entry was around 90 cents or so, if I remember.
91 and a half, I think.
So nice little 20% move on that already. It was broadly consensus, and then it felt like some of the folks who maybe were kind of on the edge may have sold and moved on. So I think that's kind of what we needed. Probably need a little bit more, if I'm still being honest, before we get our violent up.
I think it's in a good spot for that. As we spoke about 3 months ago, like how do you look at trades? It definitely felt like Farcoin was over at 850, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then a very violent move back, and now it's probably consolidating, deciding where it's going to go. And my guess is if it goes higher, it's a bit more of a pain trade, because I think a lot of people would have sold. That's actually my opinion here.
It is more of a pain trade because now you've got folks who, I mean, this token's been around for 9 months now. So there's probably folks who held it a very long time and have cut it.
Yeah. It does not feel consensus. At this point, I think it's, if anything, it feels like it's not on my timeline at all. Far, far different than it would have been, even 2 or 3 months ago. Remember, it was at like that $300 million mark or something when I was streaming with you guys in Peru. That was only a couple months ago at this point. And then it had that violent move up back up to like 1.5 or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really remember seeing it since that time. So
there's people saying the joke is not funny anymore. That the meme is dead. That's what we need. That is what we need. Well, Logan, maybe working through some of these headlines. We got one out of Coinbase yesterday that they're launching this stablecoin fund. Curious if you can maybe talk to us about this.
Yeah, so I wasn't paying attention in 2019 when they apparently did this at one point in time to provide stablecoin liquidity to DeFi protocols, just to help literally with bootstrapping liquidity, just as it says. But they've relaunched another one for at least 4 protocols. Interestingly, I think 3 of them, maybe all 3 of them are Solana, Camino, Jupiter, Morpho, and Aave. Is Morpho Ethereum? I think maybe only. So you see it right there at the top. That's where they're starting. But they also indicated at the end that they are, willing to look and bootstrap additional, more kickstarty, projects and protocols that are looking to bring stuff on chain. So just this enablement, this kind of goes hand in hand with that announcement from last week, right? That they're going to start doing basically everything via DEX. Which corresponds perhaps to that arrow move upwards as well, which seems like a no-brainer after the fact, of course. But yeah, more and more stuff on chain. I mean, this has been a narrative they've been screaming for a really long time, so it makes a lot of sense. It's cool to see for some of these protocols, DeFi in particular. One of these sectors I think is catching up, but never really gone away, but definitely catching up. And I see Aave like approaching a pretty near its all-time high or getting close to an all-time high. Maybe I'm making that up.
No, you're right. And one of my quants has been calling for Aave to new all-time high as well. It looks good. It's a nice looking chart. Coming back to this, so I guess my initial interpretation, and I didn't dig in, was that they were going to effectively put stable coins into these protocols to boost TVL effectively. But it seems like there's a lot more to this. So are they like investing in these teams? Like, what's your read on what they're actually doing here?
I'm not sure you can count this as an investment. I do think it is more just to deepen liquidity on the protocols themselves, add quite literally bootstrap, these liquidity funds across those 4, let people make DEX trades, with better liquidity, less slippage, whatever you want to say. I don't see them as investments, though I believe Coinbase has made some investments in some of these DEXs previously.
Well, they have Coinbase Ventures and
right
via that. I was just curious exactly what they were maybe planning with this. Maybe we'll see. But yeah, nice little headline from Coinbase. And there was another interesting headline from Coinbase yesterday as well. one that hits home with this crew pretty strongly, and that was REKT Drinks tweeting out something is brewing with the blue REKT logo, and then we also got the base account retweet. Who's thirsty? All right. Do we know what's coming here, Mando? Do you have any alpha for us for what we might be in store for?
No idea. Literally zero idea what's going on. No. I think you can probably guess what's going on here. But yeah, there seems to be a partnership between Base and REKT.
You love to see it. It was interesting to me. So I saw this. I actually missed it when it came out. I think I was out with the kids. And we had the Something is Brewing, and it was the teasing a potential collab with Base. And then Base basically just confirmed it. So something is indeed coming. We're excited for this. And the last drink sale with Binance was a more limited sale, right? Like on the spectrum of how many cans were actually sold. So I think the market might be hungry for a bigger sale. Ovi, if you're listening, we want to get our hands on some Base Blue headed into the end of summer and early fall. So be on the lookout for that. I think the REKT token had a nice little rebound yesterday as well. Working through some of these other headlines here. Pump just continues the buybacks, and I've seen mixed numbers on this, so I need to confirm. But from August 11th, August 12th, their holdings jumped by the buybacks amount jumped by 11 million. So I saw reports that they bought 11 million in Pump in one day. That doesn't line up with some of the other data I've seen. So again, I need to confirm that. But
the official team dashboard says they've purchased 34.76 million in Pump.
So
that's what the team dashboard says.
All right, we'll go with that one.
Yeah. With recent purchases, though, being quite strong, as, of course, revenues have gone up as well in the last few days and weeks.
But speaking of pain trades, I mean, this one is on the top of that list as well. Everyone who's on Hyperliquid got liquidated, and Alan didn't say anything for 2 weeks, and they came out, ran out the buybacks, still without any formal announcements of how they're doing it. And now the token is just grinding back up. It got back to ICO price yesterday at that $4 billion level. There's actually a very interesting MYRIAD market on this, which is the Pump versus Fartcoin, which will have a larger market cap at mid-August. So this resolves. Okay, I guess this resolves on Friday. This one has flipped back and forth several times. Pump's up 95-5. Interesting. So how is this resolving from? This is going off of, all right, Gecko Terminal. So let's look at what the market cap is on here. So they're saying 1.37 billion market cap. So I don't know, another 25% candle on Fartcoin and it flips it. So 20-1. Fart, I kind of like those odds. I might take a look at this market here later today. So that was a story that jumped out to me. We have CryptoPunks. They briefly hit 250K yesterday. A few listings came in slightly under that level. But these things have been up and to the right. And with Mando rotating ETH to Bitcoin, I'm curious, are we going to see any rotation into the safe haven of CryptoPunks, or is that still too ETH adjacent for you, sir?
I think that punks are and NFTs are maybe not just an ETH adjacent trade. I think we're going to see, more and more headlines. I think I think you're going to see some big buys basically come through. So I think they are, and also like when ETH starts to stabilize normally around all-time highs, you start to see NFTs move. So I don't think my personal view is ETH could like be in this 4 to 5K or maybe 5.5K range for just a little bit here. And that's not bad for NFTs. So
historically, that's how it's worked. It's typically quiet, perhaps even dipping in ETH terms while ETH just rips. And then when ETH does get to its new level and consolidates, that's when the wealth effect kicks in. And then people also start looking for how do they stack more. And that's when NFTs have historically shined. Man, up 3x now from, or 4x from the April bottom, 3x from the late May bottom. So it's been a heck of a trade. The board, we've seen some sales. It's been a little quiet. Some of the female companions were moving here this morning. If we look at some of the action, but nothing too crazy. It does seem like anything aesthetic at all is getting lifted right now, and the floor might need a sweep to get a little bit more interesting.
Some of those headbands near the bottom look pretty nice. The female headband.
Yeah, I've been chatting about this with some of the guys. Like, I don't know what the stigma is around this female headband, but no one wants it.
And I like
it's far too nice to be within. I mean, it's basically on the floor.
Yeah, I like the headband in second row also with the sunglasses and the. I like that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's some decent stuff around the floor. I guess I missed the gold chain. Punks OTC interestingly put a tweet out. I don't know if this is narrative following price action, but he commented on how many gold chains are on the floor and put it as a commentary towards how the new generation is basically abandoning gold for digital gold, and that old school gold is now frowned upon as a trade, which I kind of thought was tongue in cheek, but I mean, it's actually, it's kind of showing up here. I thought gold chains were a more coveted punk trade. Or I don't know if someone else has been hoarding these and just putting them on the floor, and there's more to this, but
I have a kind of maybe a non-consensus view, which I think maybe Punk OTC shares, which is that, you know, if you're going to spend 250 grand on something, I think increasingly, like, some of these punks just look really mispriced if you're just buying like bad traits. So you gotta want a punk that like somebody would actually want to own. Do you know what I mean? They're not just like just an asset to own. So and I quite like gold chains, so I kind of agree with this, that like that's something that I imagine people would like move to buy. But I also think that some of the mid-range punks, like a punk which is worth like 400 to maybe even like some of the hoodies, they just look like the wrong price, because I'm just like, who would actually want to own that punk? Like, they just look bad. And I would be it's some people say, like, you know, it's like you want to own you still want to own the worst house on a good road, right? Because it's location. But I don't think it's the same with punks, right? I don't think location is necessarily that strong a trend for me. If you're gonna flex on like, if this is a digital Rolex, the Rolex has got to look good. It can't just be rare, in my opinion. I think it's got to look good.
I think the hot take makes sense. And when I've gone through the buying process, I definitely look for ones that I like and think look good as well, versus just buying stone floors. I could see that becoming a bigger deal as the floor goes up a bit as well. I've also seen the commentary that only like 20% of the punks actually look good, and there's a lot of just terrible trait combinations out there. And I think when you dig in, there is some truth to that. Like there are some fairly ugly ones on the board. Coming back to your prior comment, it really feels like we're going to get a fund move in on punks soon. Like there's so much ETH buy pressure, and I tweeted this out. You have 0% chance of becoming the #1 ETH treasury. It's over. Tom Lee is the front runner, and maybe Joe Lubin and Sharplink have an outsider's chance. But that's #1 and #2. No one else has a shot at this point. It's already over. You have a shot to be the #1 punk treasury co. And whether or not that's a wise decision, people are going to see that, I think. And I do think that is coming. And we're starting to see glimpses of it, of more NFT treasury co action here this morning. So I think this one caught some folks by surprise. Game Square, who acquired that Cowboy Ape punk for like $5 million in stock a couple weeks back. They just had their latest announcement, and they are partnering with Azuki. As I understand it, they are receiving $2.5 million of anime coins as a part of this partnership, and they are effectively going to become like a marketing arm for Azuki in anime. And as a part of that, they've also agreed to market buy $2.5 million of anime coin. So they're being given 2.5 million and they're going to market buy. So I think from that perspective, you see how they can get a return on their investment potentially as long as the anime token doesn't go down more than 50%. And then from Azuki's side, you get perhaps a loud voice to help in the marketing. I'm curious if Logan or either of you had thoughts on this one. I haven't really had a chance to really digest it too much yet this morning.
Yeah, I didn't go super deep on this. You know, the anime coin, of course, has been, as you're showing here, basically down only since its launch. But I still do believe that as far as NFT collections go and NFT brands go, Azuki maintains one of, you know, the more high quality. I shouldn't necessarily say like the most lauded or anything like that, but in terms of like quality around the brand, surrounding the brand, I do think it stands out probably in the top 3 or 4 with Pudgy, Punks, Apes, you know, Azuki probably in there, right? It's just been difficult to really, I think, envision this flywheel like what we've seen Pudgy and Pengu do, right? I think anime provides the same sort of opportunity, but we haven't really seen it play out quite like Luca has done. Perhaps that's just because there's too many moving parts. It's not final yet. Maybe this is the first leg of that, but I think there's a lot of explaining to do about exactly how this, you know, interplays with the Azuki and anime ecosystem. I know they want to make it this big decentralized anime thing. Anime, of course, is like a massive, massive market. I don't think they've been tied together super well just yet. With all that being said, it's an interesting opportunity should they do it. Look at what Pengu's done, right? We'll see.
A few thoughts. I'm not conversational on what the Anime Foundation and Anime Coin are doing, like the progress they've made against their anime series. And I think that's part of the problem, right? Like, is anyone conversational in what Azuki and anime are doing right now above the single headline view that they're building an anime series? And I do think this is still one of the stronger IP sets. I think there's still a lot of Azuki PFPs out there on the timeline, far more than Doodles. And I think they've got a stronger community than Moonbirds. No offense to the Spencer group, but Spencer's new, and he's building this up now. And there are reasons to be excited about that ecosystem. But I think it's fair to say that the Azuki crew has been through more and has been around longer than that cohort. So I think there's a foundation to build on, but it just doesn't seem like they've been doing a whole lot. Like, that's kind of just my read. But where this gets interesting is, like, if you think we're going to have an NFT season and Punks go off and Pudgy goes off, people are going to look for betas. And Azuki is going to be there. And this anime coin, I think, is also going to be there. Right? I mean, this thing is trading at 100 million right now. How far is it off all-time high? So market cap terms, I mean, just to get to the local high in June, it's a 150% move. I think people are going to look at that. So I think this is an interesting trade from GameSquare. I think investment is a little tricky of a word. I'm not sure if I would throw that in just yet, but I do think there's perhaps an interesting trade on anime. So we'll see. Maybe GameSquare will be the one who lights the match. Logan, I don't know if you had a chance to look into this, but there is actually a fairly interesting NFT mint taking place tomorrow. So Dee's put this on my radar. We talked a little bit about it on Underexposed yesterday, but Snowfro is dropping a long-form generative art mint tomorrow. It's built on Art Blocks. I don't know if anyone in the comments knows if this is officially an Art Blocks collection or not. I'd love that info. I don't see it here in this post, but it's called Lift, self-portrait. It's going to be an English auction. It's going to start tomorrow at noon Eastern, 1,000 pieces in the collection. I don't know if we have a whole lot of examples of what it looks like just yet. But curious if you had a chance to dig in or any thoughts or takes on this.
Yeah. So I just read through this and we were chatting about it a little bit before the show. I think the time for, if there's going to be a time for like art, not necessarily even art blocks in particular, but art NFTs, it's going to be in these periods where ETH is showcasing tremendous strength and runs. So like now feels like the time to see some of that wealth effect exposed over to art projects. So I think timing is exceptional here. Art blocks, of course, strong brand, and then Snowfro, I mean, you can't really do too much stronger. So I think you could obviously do much worse. I went digging just to look at the squiggle action. And I pulled that up this morning, and that was surprised to see, of course, a lot of it is buoyed by the ETH run, but these are trading $30,000, close to $30,000 at this point in time. And if you scroll back just a couple months, you could have gotten them for $6,000-$7,000. Which is pretty wild. So interesting, because there are collections with ties to Snowfro. You could make the case that this is kind of a bookend piece. Even if not included in the AB 500, like a bookending piece of starting a new chapter for art blocks and stuff like that, which perhaps adds some provenance. I still think I'd rather probably just buy a Chromie squiggle, although of course price is not going to be equal. I don't think these lift, are going to go for $29,000 or whatever. Yeah, 28,000. So interesting. You could do a whole lot worse. I think you're going to need to see some of these mints like this tomorrow. Could be a really good barometer for like where art NFTs actually are, right? Where NFT mints actually are. It's very difficult for mints to do well. A couple have drummed some excitement recently, right? But not to the scale, like anywhere near the scale of even the tail end of the last NFT run.
And the squiggles is interesting. So we haven't really given them enough love on this show. So I'm looking back at this price action now. Wow. So these hit $6,000 USD in that April downtrend when ETH fell. They were $9,000 a month ago.
Yeah.
Now up to 28,000. The all-time high is around 36 to 40K. Very briefly in the art block summer of 2021. They haven't really maintained above 20K for very long.
This feels like a miss. 6,000 for like, yeah. I understand. Well, that was probably what with ETH at like 1,500. So it was still like
ETH. So in ETH terms, it wasn't as crazy, right? But in USD,
when you look at it in USD, which I actually really like that OpenSea is showing things in USD now. That may tamper some of the mania, perhaps, because I think the ETH denomination stuff from 2021 just let us get out of hand a little bit, right? Like 10 ETH felt different than $30,000 or whatever the case may be. But I do like that they're showing it now. All that being said, I do think it could potentially dampen a little bit what these could get to. Nevertheless, it feels like a miss at $6,000 for like the premier art blocks project. If you had any sort of, if you're going to create some sort of category about like nostalgic NFTs, I mean, it's not as deserving as a CryptoPunk. It's not an autoglyph. It's not anything like that, but it's near that tier, right? I mean, like, I don't know.
8 squiggles or 1 punk?
1 punk probably.
Yeah, I think I'm there too. Could squiggles get to $100,000 this cycle? I think that's in play.
Yeah. 100,000. Well, I mean, it's all ETH dependent, right? So it's tough. I don't know. I really need to see what happens with this whole, like how it's received. I feel like, unfortunately, not through necessarily poor intentions, but just like the Art Blocks brand just got diluted a little bit because of the projects and like the factory and all the playground and all that stuff.
But now that's over. So let's talk about it. We didn't really talk about it a ton last week. Art Blocks 500.
Yeah. So basically wrapped up all those projects, and they're bookmarking it. They're kind of creating this index of, okay, here's the 500 projects, the AB 500. Nothing else is going to be added to that. These, represent a moment in time and all these distinct projects and collections from the course of the last few years. And anything, moving forward would be kind of standing on its own. So it is trying to create that stamp of provenance, the stamp of authenticity, and hopefully the there won't be further dilution, both in terms of actual projects, but also too just in terms of like sentiment around it that gets attached to this brand. So yeah, 5 years, 500 collections. Man, that was such a wild time.
And so many of them are so low in supply in the liquid. I think that's one of the benefits of Chromie Squiggles, and it's the index bet, right? If you want to bet on generative art, on Snowfro, on art blocks, how are you going to make that bet? I think Squiggles is the easy entry to it. You could buy Fidenzas at the high end, and we've seen those run up. We talked about this a little bit on Underexposed. I think they're at 44 ETH right now, and it wouldn't surprise me to see those flip punks just because of the supply differences. I still think I like punks more on a longer term time horizon, perhaps a little bit safer. But if we get funds that come into punks, I think we will also inevitably get a fund or two gets into Squiggles, I think is my take on that. So we will certainly see. I saw some comments from the chat that it looks like because this mint with Snowfro as with Glitch, it will not be art blocks. So good to know. I still think there's going to be some decent price action on this one. So I think if you are here and looking for trades and looking for new mints to watch, it's one to look out for. I mean, we had those little trippers run from 0.03 to 0.25 in the past week. We have these crypto fish, which I still don't really know what this project is even. I think it's literally just fish JPEGs that XCopy minted. They're at 0.25 ETH. That's $1,000. And I think they're minting for near zero. So there is some action to be had. So I think folks will be lining up to mint this one. English auction, so we'll need to see what the prices are. But expect some demand on that. I think that was mostly my list. Logan, was there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
No, I don't think so. No, thanks for having me this week. It was good to hop on and chat. I do think need to be spending a little bit more time on chain. Summer perhaps behind us. I know that may be consensus, right? Everybody kind of feeling a little bulled up because of the ETH price action, but time to spend some time on chain, perhaps.
Lock in. You can go to Ibiza next summer.
I don't think I'm not really that.
Isn't Tyler on chain like 100% of the time? Like,
yeah,
Tyler is more time on chain.
Tyler might need to spend less time on chain.
Yeah,
the rest of us,
sure.
The rest of us, perhaps just announce more on chain.
Don't tell Tyler to lock in even more, man. He won't see his kids. Yeah, Tyler, I think you've got it covered if we're on chain. Just put the CAs in the chat for us all to get on board.
Deal. That is a good deal. Well, folks, thanks for joining us here today. I want to thank all of our listeners. I want to thank my co-hosts as always. Thank our partners. Farouk is back tomorrow. He is back. We're excited for that. I think we've got a special guest tomorrow as well. So you'll want to tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Until then, go make it a beautiful day.